Listen to your parents, to your elders, to your peers. It's a lesson we have been taught and have practiced since a very young age for most of us. Why? Because with age comes wisdom. Really, it's just a difference in experience because they most likely have done it, did it wrong, and now they get the opportunity to tell you how to do it right, or the solution of some sorts. And at that young age, we heed to their guidance and direction with no real question because that's the way it is. But then this weird thing called adolescence happens, and all of a sudden we become aware that we can have our own opinion. You get so caught up in the idea that you're the most enlightened thinker with your own thought for once. So you start to question their decisions and guidance, thinking you can rule the world by yourself. An individual of their own, on their own, charging the world in pursuit of their own independence, but at the same time forgetting the importance of listening and considering other perspectives. You want to hold the world in the grip of your hand and shape it into your desires. In those moments, unbeknownst to you, you finally take a step forward into becoming a part of the crowd. Now, what is the crowd? It's your family. It's the community. It's you and 5 other people in a room making decisions for the next multi-billion-dollar company. It's the cooperation amongst a group of individuals with opinions. Now, for this entire talk, I want you to picture yourself as this teen with newly learned ideas and opinions. At the same time, you, the teen, think you rule the world. Your idea on any matter at hand is the right one with no regard for anyone else. So let's go back to one of those examples, where it's you, the teen, and 5 other people in a room making decisions for a multi-billion-dollar company. Now, why was a teenager allowed in such an important room? It's not important for now, but remember it. So you walk into this meeting, you sit down, and listen to what the 5 other people had to say, then give your pitch. But there's a problem. You didn't really listen to what those 5 other people had to say, you heard them. There's a difference between listening and hearing. Listening gives a focused attention in which you are taking from and learning what someone's saying, while hearing, as the definition says, you simply perceive sounds. You, the teen, rule the world in a monarchy and therefore take no heed to anyone's opinions. So you heard the 5 other people, it went in one ear and out, and then you gave your pitch. The problem of this situation is very blatant. But just in case you can't see the true depths and complexities, I want to briefly talk about a man named Francis Galton. He was a scientist who is attributed to something known as the wisdom of crowds. One day, he went, I want to go to a guess the weight of an ox competition. And so he did. And as he was there, he took all the data from the local villagers and farmers' guesses, compiling it to find a median and a mean. The weight of the given ox that day was 1,198 pounds. Galton found the median to be 1,207 pounds, being the closest guess that day, beating any expert out there. Even more so, he later found the mean to be 1,197 pounds, 1 pound off from the actual weight of the given ox. This phenomenon became known as the wisdom of crowds, that if you have enough people answering the same question, their cumulative guess can be better than that of an expert. So what was the problem of that teen in the meeting? It was forgetting and not understanding just how much the weight of others' opinions can have on making the best decision, the best choice. The teen was too caught up in their own elaborate thought that their idea was the money winner, deciding just to hear the 5 other people, in one ear and out, when they really needed to listen. It is so important and vital for us to listen and truly try to take in the opinions of others. But there is this underlying fault in our thinking in that our opinions have to be black or white. They don't. It can be a shade of gray. It can be in the middle. We all get so caught up in our own stances that if someone brings up a point against where we currently stand, we overlook it, caught up in our own arrogance. Stop that. Welcome that point and absorb it. It was a good point. In this way, your idea, opinion, answer becomes a bit closer to that mean, a bit closer to what may be the best answer. You have the wisdom of that crowd, altering your decision for the better. Like this teen who should listen to these ideas. Absorb this knowledge. Don't simply walk away thinking those were some great students with some great TED Talks. No. I want you to start thinking about how this idea changes your perspective now. But of course, the story doesn't stop there. I want to go back to what I overlooked earlier, and that is, why is a teenager in a room making decisions for a multi-billion-dollar company? To preface this, the other 5 people are well-educated and well-rounded young adults. The simple answer is, you, the teen, shouldn't be. You shouldn't be a part of that crowd. Oh, but you just said having more people leads to better answers. Yes, I did say that. But I also haven't mentioned something I like to call the foolishness of crowds. There have been countless other studies that observe the wisdom of crowds, or this alleged wisdom. Brett Stevenson, an Australian mathematics teacher, conducted a study with 2 sets of students in M&Ms, putting 2 380-gram packets of M&Ms into a jar and having the students guess the answer. Set A students came out with a mean of 332 M&Ms, while Set B came out with a mean of 523 M&Ms. Both very different answers for the same jar. How come, even though both crowds have the same jar, their mean, the answer, is very different? Before I answer that, I want to tell you how many M&Ms were actually in that jar. 2 380-gram packets of M&Ms in this instance gives you 804 M&Ms. So both sets of students weren't even close. No, Set B did not win. Their answer was still like 300 M&Ms off. Both answers were honestly equally terrible. So what went wrong? Well, it's not what went wrong, but what happened originally in Galton's study. You see, if you didn't catch it at first, the people Galton took his data from were all local villagers and farmers. They had some sort of ground line and experience to make their prediction off of. These students had no idea what 30 M&Ms or 100 M&Ms look like in a jar. They had no knowledge or familiarity. Knowledge, experience, familiarity, having this within a crowd makes it wise to make the best decisions. The lack of it creates foolishness, guided with no ground. So now, think about how this point changes your perspective from before. When I asked you to start thinking about how your first encounter with the idea of wisdom of crowds changed your perspective then. That is exactly what it is to listen. To hear a good point openly and have it change your opinion for the better. I hope you see the more the merrier doesn't apply to everything. Like a job that has different required qualifications, we want to step forward into scenes where we have some sort of experience, so we can push whatever it may be toward a more promising answer. Meaning, we need to know when to take ourselves out of situations. I wouldn't consider putting myself in a situation where I had to voice my opinion on quantum entanglement and its potential applications in the field of quantum communication. I barely understand what's happening in that sentence. But let's say, for example, I did. So I sat in a 2-hour lecture about quantum entanglement. What will I have learned? Most likely nothing. I wouldn't understand any explanation they tried to give me because their knowledge is so stacked and layered, but I've just been force-fed the surface of the topic. If anything, one thing happens. I am able to recite their opinion. I take their opinion as my own. This happens all the time to a lot of people. Not that it's bad. Opinions, variety, and listening create a working community. However, if I never started to learn the basics about quantum entanglement after that 2-hour lecture, it would be all I know. I would be trapped in that set conclusion, having to run back to it over and over again without understanding why they said that, and therefore not understanding why I'm saying this. If we learn why people say what they have to say, then you gain the basics, and you have the facts. From there, you can start breaking out of that set opinion and form your own. When you find yourself in a crowd, I hope when you put yourself there, it was purposeful and meaningful. I hope you aren't going to be some teenager in a room making decisions for a multi-billion-dollar company. I want you to understand why you are there and have your own opinion within. A lot has been said, and little has been done, because the doing is now on your end of the story. The teenager throughout all this is really just us. No, you may not be a teenager anymore, but these ideas will come back at you over and over again as adults. Getting called out to jury duty because a crowd is needed with unbiased opinions and newly learned knowledge to make decisions. It is something we have known for most of our lives, but understanding the depths and complexities of it make it that much more powerful. There's wisdom that surrounds us. As we stop and take a look at it all, at each other, it's overwhelming. Knowing where we want to start, what we want to do to learn makes it a little less overwhelming, makes it feasible to start pulling from that knowledge that is just within our group. There is so much wisdom that surrounds me. you, all of us. So make use of it. Thank you.